We are here in the Bahamas.
We are going to make it right.
If you became a millionaire, would you keep working? You know?
Great job, brother. It was fun to meet Shelby.
What's going on right now is California's trying to figure out. Oh, I can.
Warning, 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 Bitcoin is dumping. We're going to try to get some insight on why that is happening. Maybe some of this PCE numbers. We also have Kelly coming in. Maybe he has some insight on some macro reasons. And we're going to go over some really, really good stories with Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, and of course, Ripple. And if you're watching on YouTube, where else would you be watching? Hit that like button. Go ahead, please hit that like button. That is right. It is DZ hosting today. Ben is... Dun, dun, dun.
He is currently on a train going from Philly to New York for the New York meetup.
Okay, he's on a train, huh?
Yeah.
I've never done, I know like all those things are real close together. You got Boston, you got New York, you got Philadelphia, you got Concord. I don't know. I just want to throw out some Connecticut reference for Taco there. But yeah, everybody takes the trains. It's like an hour. I've never done it though. Have you?
Yeah, actually, I think it was Concord I stayed in for a little while. My brother was working up there building a broadcast center for NBC. It was about 45-minute train ride from there to the city. So yeah, I did that a handful of times. Was it Concord? Yeah, I think it was.
Was it packed like, East Asia? Was it, was there people like, was there a crazy guy,
no, it's pretty comfortable.
Something?
There's plenty of space. It was actually a pretty fun experience. I mean, seeing what, good public transportation is like, obviously not what we have here in Atlanta with MARTA, but you can get, from well outside the city and then obviously using the subways once you get into the city. The most interesting experience I had one night was coming back at like 3 in the morning. Nobody on the train, but like a group of high schoolers, like that didn't, like probably 14, 15, 16-year-olds that were coming back from the city. And I just realized like, dang, that's crazy to think like you don't need a license. You could literally have the run of the entire New York City from a very young age just with public transportation. It was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was a quick shout out to Cracker Barrel. I was at Cracker Barrel yesterday and you brought up kids. There was kids everywhere. Why are kids not in school? I don't know what was going on. Everywhere we went, there was just kids left and right on a Thursday, weirdly enough. Is school in session right now? Do you know? You have any insight on that?
I do not keep up with that.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but I have parking lots to hang. No. Just because I'm in Atlanta doesn't mean there's lean in the cup. Today's episode brought to you by water. We love water here. All right, let's get into the show. Once again, make sure you're hitting that like button. If you are subbed, make sure you share it. Tell some friends. If you're not subbed, hit that subscribe button. What are you doing? You can check out some of our streams here. If you want to find the live streams, you hit live. If you want to see the pre-recorded, you hit videos. We got top altcoin and Vitalik with very smooth skin right there. Make sure you follow our new Vumio Instagram, vumio.io. This is the same as our website. You can go to the website, sign up for the beta. It's going to be launching hopefully as soon as possible. And we're talking with some devs. We're getting close to the finish line, folks. So it could still be 2 months before we get everything, all the nuts, all the bolts tightened there. But I'm looking forward to some Vumio. Are you ready for some Vumio?
Yeah, I'm pumped. And speaking of, you always got to have tight nuts, like you just said. So yeah,
got to have them tight as possible. Hey, I just passed 40,000 now at 40,100, and it was the strength. And if you want to follow Vumio on Twitter, make sure you do that as well. We're there every Tuesday. Also got the junkies up here. All right, if you look here, what Girl Scout cookies is your favorite? People loved it. Do you have any particular favorite?
The purple box. I like the purple box.
Type it in the chat right now. Let us know. We really need you helping out this YouTube algorithm. Type it as a comment. Do everything you can to help spread this because YouTube really likes suppressing the crypto content. But by you typing in your favorite cookie, we get to have a good time. We get to see what you like. And maybe you help raise Bitcoin's price by 1 penny. We really, really need it right now more than ever. And my proof of date picture, 23,000 views. And I will convince her to get a Twitter eventually so I can tag. Big shout out to Kat. We had a wonderful, wonderful evening, an enchanted evening, and even with Taco along for the ride. So it was a great time. The book tour is still going strong. We have Atlanta, March 8th. Yeah, March 8th, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. In the Lowe's Home Improvement Shopping Center. I'm kidding. No, it's at the location. It's here. It's the studio, folks. You want to come by, you're in the area, you've thought about it, you haven't pulled the trigger yet, come by, get your book signed. It's going to be a good time. So really looking forward to that. And here you could see where to buy it at bitboycrypto.com. This hoodie Guys, we have less than 20 of them left, all right? There's like 18 or something, so less than 2 dozen. These are going to be gone. Once they're gone, it's gone forever. That is the front. I Heart NFTs, JPEG Junkies on the back, and some guy that almost looks like me, but is way more stronger forearms there and a much more thicker beard. But yeah, this JPEG Junkies. Hudson, he was hard at work on that, so big shout out to Hudson there. All right, you want to look at some coin market cap, or should we cover this story first? I heard we're switching things around a little.
Go ahead. Hit coin market cap for a second, and then come and get into this what caused it, maybe.
Yeah. And before we get into all that, just look at this chart real quick, folks. Look at that. Look at that. You know, I led the show with warning, warning, warning. You can see why right there. It just fell off of a cliff. Let's look at some of the broad macro numbers here. The market cap still above $1 trillion, 1.05. It was hanging out that area forever. Still around 24-hour volume at 50 billion. Still, you know, within the range that we normally see. Bitcoin dominance now down to 42.2. When I hosted a couple days ago, I think it was 42.6, and ETH 18.4. So ETH still sticking around the same areas. Right now, a lot of people trading, maybe trading out of those alts. The gas is up to 51 Gwei at the moment. Let's look at Bitcoin's price. It is down at one point. I think this was down 3% just on the 1 hour. It looks like it's cooled down a little bit. Down 3% on the day. Ethereum down almost 4% on the day. Let's see if we go here. Look at Polygon taking back some of those gains that it's had lately. Now down 12, almost 13% on the week. Down 6% on the daily there. Doge down. If you're still trying to get some of that Doge, I don't know if we'll see a nickel again, but you come in, maybe you can catch it under 8 cents, come in to 7 and some change. We keep scrolling here. Another bad mover here. Avalanche down 7%. But let's look at the top gainers. I heard if they hit the like button, it triples the odds that their coin is in the top gainers.
Hey.
Where are we at on likes?
Only 400 right now, but they'll start rolling it.
Man, if you would have said it 1 second later, we'd have to get a new mic. It would have been over. It would have been a wrap.
Yeah.
We would have been electrocuted. BJ is underneath the desk holding open the microphone. He wouldn't have made it. He wouldn't have made it. He would have had some burnt ends. All right, let's look at the top gainers. Binary, we're just going to say binary is up, and then the new binary is also up. So this one is up 20%. This one's up 11%. Let's see, Singularity having a pretty good day today. We're going to cover that later. So if you like your AI coins, make sure you stick around. Up 6%. You can get that on MinSwap, by the way. I think I have no, I don't have a pin, but if you search on my Twitter, I interact with MinSwap. I tell you how to do it. I tell you how to get into the Cardano DeFi game. So make sure you want to check that out. In fact, maybe we put Taco on that with NFT Alpha, because there's a lot of gaming tokens that are on the Cardano ecosystem that maybe people don't know how to interact with, or maybe you have a junkie and you got that Charlie token in your wallet and you don't know what to do with it. So maybe we'll have Taco revisit that. We keep scrolling around. We quickly move into the losers. We do have optimism kind of gaining, but it's the scary part. Here comes the losers. We are down 15% on stacks. However, look at that 7 days, mostly just peeling back some of the gains, people taking some profits. Somewhat of a healthy correction there, I would say. Anchor down 12%, Tezos, Immutable down slightly, which a little surprising. And then Curve and Neo, Ravencoin. Ravencoin was pumping. You can see here up 4% for the week. Neo up 30% for the week. So maybe just people taking some profits. And Shiba Swap. I heard something about Shibariums coming soon. Are you going to play with any Shib or Sheeb just for fun's sake?
I'm not. It's not really not really one that. There's so many other alts I want to accumulate right now, and you know, not saying everybody who messes with it, like nothing wrong with it if anybody else does, but it's not the project for me.
Yeah, nor me. All right, now I heard we're gonna have a call in. Let me get my ears in, and we're gonna shoot it to Kelly, or should we do Twitter buzz?
Well, no. I think we should. Is there a story to start it off with
let's get into it.
The PCE stuff?
That in a second. I don't know where it's at.
It's hanging on the screen there for you.
Oh, okay, nice. Oh, okay. It's like, well, you can't find your sunglasses. Like, I don't know where they're at. All right, let's get into it. Maybe this is some of the reasoning we're seeing this huge correction. A lot of this data, just now hitting the markets. People are reacting to it. First, we have the key Fed inflation measure rose 0.6% in January, more than expected. This is the core personal consumption expenditures. It increased and was up 4.7% from a year ago. Headline inflation increased 0.6% respectively. All the numbers are higher than the estimates. The numbers suggest inflation accelerated to start the new year, putting the Fed in a position where it's likely will continue to raise interest rates. A measure they watch closely to gauge inflation rose more than expected, indicating they have more work to do to bring down prices. All of the numbers suggest inflation accelerated to start the new year, putting them in a position where it's likely they're going to continue to raise interest points, maybe 0.5. We don't know. Earlier Friday, Cleveland Fed President Loretta Mester noted in a CNBC interview that there's been some progress made, but the level of inflation is still too high. They need to bring it down. So the pain is there. So they're going to try to hurt the economy because this inflation, they got to lower demand, it appears, and it is going to hurt your pocket. It's going to hurt everybody, and to them, that's a good thing. BitBoy, that look you give, what's going on there? I don't know what you mean, Steve-O.
Yeah.
Raven Boy Crypto, he's like, hey, I took those Raven profits, happy with what I did. And Raven, first coin I ever got into mining, lost the wallet. Haven't looked back since.
Oh,
All
gosh.
Right. Hopefully he doesn't like hit $1. I think it was like 7 cents or something. All right. Yellen says U.S. inflation coming down, but the core measures are remaining inflated. That is not a good thing for them. He said on Friday that U.S. inflation, this is just remarks from this morning. Inflation was coming down, but there's still more work to do to bring it in line with their 2% annual target. TJ, will they ever hit 2%? Will they ever give up on trying to hit 2%? Will they consider like a 2.8 a success, a 3.1 a success?
They'll hit it after enough time goes by because they measure it year over year. So they will slow it down eventually, in my opinion. Just might take a couple of years.
Yeah, that's what's it going to be like by then. Echoing comments she made on Thursday that the U.S. and global outlooks were improving despite ongoing pressures from the war in Ukraine. Yellen said the U.S. economy is fundamentally in good shape despite us sending $140 billion. Employment, continues to increase. Households are in good shape. We don't have balance sheet problems of the type we had in 08, 09 financial crisis, she said, referring to the high debt levels and crashing home prices of that era. But a lot of smart people are saying, well, we don't have the balance sheet problems of the worst part of 09, but we have a lot of the indicators saying we're heading to those levels. And they're not really being fair when they just say, hey, guys, the data's not as bad as the very worst moment of that Bass financial crisis. Yeah, of course not. But when you see indicators maybe leading up to that level, it's good to have a fair discussion on, hey, are you driving us off a cliff or not? What was that? Just a rando super? Yeah, okay. One of those people again. Speaking of randos, how about that Satoshi guy? Some rando that maybe it's Hal, who knows? 13 years ago, Nakamoto unveiled the Bitcoin icon. See how it evolved. And fun fact, Ben is part of that story, right? Is he one of the ones like made it rotate or something like that? He unveiled the historic B icon 13 years ago. Today is time to check it out and go down. Here is the original one. How ugly is that?
Yeah.
You like that?
Yeah. No.
It's terrible. You ready to smash that like button if you think this is pretty bad. But I think I see Kelly. Is Kelly lurking?
He's lurking.
Kelly's lurking. All right. I guess I'm going to put this in. Kelly, how are you doing? Happy logo anniversary day.
Hey man, I'm doing well. Happy to be here. I woke up at 3 a.m. there in Atlanta.
Yeah, I'd be happy if I was at home as well, right?
Hey, working still, baby. I woke up 3 a.m., got on a flight, got here, did my daily stream for BitLab this morning to just finish that. So,
all right, what alley were you in at 3 a.m.? Like, was this like downtown Atlanta? Was this local spot? Was this neighbor's house?
I was at Tim's house, TJ's dad.
Okay.
And that sounds like a joke, but that's actually where I was staying while I was there. So I was staying with Timbo Slice.
Timbo Slice, partying all night, playing board games probably. Well, Kelly, we're seeing a huge drop with Bitcoin. A lot of people are wondering, all right, is this the beginning of the end? Is there some crazy bad news that we don't know? What's your insight on why we just had this recent crash?
Well, there's a lot going on, as we all know, trying to battle this pervasive sort of global economic crisis. Is it not a crisis? Is it data that's being weighed against stuff that's not relevant because this situation is different? Everybody always wants to have the argument that this time's different, but at least in this situation, that a lot of the data that we're pulling right now it's very hard. It's a very hard time in the market right now to really make a good decision about what to do based on historical charts, because we haven't had a situation where we've had a global economic shutdown and we think that that was 3 years ago, it's done. But no, this is going to linger in the markets, and we're going to be facing this in different ways, probably for the next, 5 to 7 years. So, as we're seeing right now, not only coming out of the end of what we hope to be the end of the bear run and starting a new bullish wave, while we're still dealing with a lot of uncertainty in the markets, and we're seeing risk come on and then risk come back off. So I've got some charts we can go through if you'd like.
Yeah, let's do it.
All righty. So first things first, look at this chart. I love this chart. This is one of my favorite analysts on Twitter. You can follow him at The Rational Root. But you could see right in this zone right here, this was essentially the best kind of bullish divergence you could get. This is right about when FTX crash happened, and we saw liquidity starting to pour into the markets. Now, unfortunately, well, I guess fortunately for us trying to get inflation under control, this wasn't coming from liquidity from the U.S. because we're still under very tight sort of quantitative tightening sort of paradigm here in the U.S. trying to quote unquote get the inflation down to 2%. In reality, I think it's going to be a time-based correction where we just get used to prices, and then from there we don't have a more than 2% increase. But we're seeing a lot. If we actually come over here, I had it up, but it went away. If we look actually at the money supply from China, this is a big part of it, because we're seeing a lot of money being pumped in. You all covered the story here on the channel as well about the change in regulation in China recently, and in Hong Kong, more open stance to trade and buy crypto assets.
It's basically the Drake meme, Bitcoin at 69K, it's like Bitcoin at 20K.
Yeah.
They're like, so they open it up for those who don't know. They basically it appears that they wanted their citizenry to dump the top and start buying the bottom.
Well, that could be the case. We won't know, because we're never going to get a clear media source out of China. But they're also there's a lot of liquidity coming into China right now, in addition to them opening that up to trade and participate in digital assets again. And so we see this leading. As soon as FTX crashed, we had sideways, basically a bottoming sort of pattern here, double bottom if you really zoomed into it, like a Eve pattern, or as Jason Casper calls it, the uneven butt cheeks. And we could see that we had liquidity coming in while price was still stagnant, and then we finally get this explosion. But if we kind of dive in to the charts here, before we get to Bitcoin, I do want to point out, and I'm sure a lot of people have seen, on the Dixie, the dollar index, we had a massive explosion out of this somewhat bearish pattern here, being this ascending wedge, this ascending triangle. But we're breaking to the upside, and of course we can all correlate this directly to the PCE number that came in at 0.2% higher. That shows, at least it's fueling a bit of more of that uncertainty about what the monetary policy is going to be. Is it bad? It's 0.2% higher. Does that mean inflation is going to get worse? So everybody's still battling this narrative of not having certainty. Now, yes, we are still within that 4-year cycle with Bitcoin. We're still kind of on track there, but does that mean that we are absolutely going to crash from here? Well, the first thing we can look at to understand that is look at the USDT dominance chart. And while Bitcoin has had this pullback, this has also been directly correlated to when the USDT dominance has been pushing up. But we are in this pattern here that if we do lose this level, if we even pull back down to this level, anytime the USDT dominance pulls back, this is essentially akin to liquidity coming from being on the sidelines to being putting back, basically being reallocated into crypto. So as this goes up, liquidity is coming out of crypto or Bitcoin, and as this is dominance is pulling back, that means the dominance of other crypto assets are rising. Therefore, the liquidity is coming out of the USDT dominance and going into crypto. Now, when we look at the specific levels on what's going on with Bitcoin right now, of course, we're in this macro downtrend that we've broken out of, but have we yet? Because one of the things I want to point out here is if we put our mouse right about over here, rather than using the toolbar here, and you can learn all this stuff over at the BitLab Academy daily streams as well, and in the Academy, but you can press Option F on a Mac or Alt F on a PC, and you'll automatically have a fib. And we can just pull our mouse down to the low here. And what we can see is this level is not only just this previous high, which we can do Option J there to get a horizontal ray. We have this previous high as well as the golden pocket from this position here. So this was very clear just on the basic technicals. Now, if we pull up the BitLab trading stack and we look at this, we can see also in addition to that, I mean, look at this right here. This flag is demonstrating that we had 6 different bearish divergences right at this level. Not only the golden pocket, not only this previous price action level. If you didn't do that at all, you would have seen that we have a bearish MACD, bearish RSI, bearish stochastic, bearish on balance volume, bearish money flow index, bearish, and this is the hidden volume. So we're having just a confluence of just complete bearishness at this level. So it would have been a good, clear indication to take some profits if you had taken this position or even this position. And as we stand right now, we need to see now on a more local time zone, we can go down to the 2-hour and we can see we're starting to form these lower highs. Now we're falling through this EMA ribbon on the BitLab Market Intelligence and getting rejected off of it. And so we need to really see if there's any sort of floor to be set. Now, the first thing I can see right here is that if we do a level right here, this is a 23,250 level, essentially. That gives us a previous price action level. But if we do a fib from this low to this high, we can see that we do have, actually, it's a little bit higher. We can see that we are essentially we've fallen through the 0.5 and we're just now sitting just above this golden pocket right here, which is at 22.8. So now the thing I want to point out before I go is that although we do have this pullback, we still have that $19,900 CME gap, which is essentially just below this previous price action resistance, now flip support. And one of the things Bitcoin and crypto does more than you'll ever see in the stock market, especially on major stock assets, is it likes to essentially play. I'm going to double click on the chart and minimize those other indicators, but it very well could, fake people and trap people to the upside going long, shake them out by coming down, losing, I have my mic in the way, losing this level of support and getting people to commit to going short and then reverse back to the upside. Now, will that happen? We'll have to see where momentum is as this breaks down below this, but I can definitely see that happening and clearing that CME gap. And I just, recommend using your indicators, whatever signals you use to check the momentum and the volume and see what's happening if we do get back down to these levels. I'm not saying we will, but if we do, that's what we need to be paying attention to. But we're still not clearly breaking these levels yet. So until we break this basically $23,000 level, I'm not really looking for lower levels, because right now the market's just shaking about and doing everything it can to make people commit to the wrong direction.
All right. And we have it pinned up top, bitlabacademy.com. You can learn all about that. There's a lot of great resources to learn. And if you want to learn, I saw a question, why do people draw triangles? Go to that website. You'll learn all about TA and how it can help out. Kelly, any parting thoughts here? Like you won ATB.
Well, hey man, I just love the team that we have and how hard we all work. And I hope everybody that's in the chat knows how hard that everybody at our channel works to just, our only goal is to bring good content. And check out BitLab Academy. Also check out the BitLab Academy daily stream. We do that over here at the BitLab Academy, youtube.com/@BitLab Academy. We're growing strong, growing fast, and we're teaching all kind of stuff there as well as inside BitLab Academy. So with that, we got some big updates coming soon, very soon. That's why I was in Atlanta for a month, but one more things. I'm going to let you go.
All right. And I appreciate it, Kelly. You have a fantastic one. Nav, imagine taking financial advice from DZ. Hey, if you do want to take no financial advice, but if you want to see my trades, I share it in the DZ Trades channel on the JPEG Junkies. You go back 30 days. People are doing pretty good. Nowhere near Frankie Candles, though. So make sure you check out Frankie Candles and the Candle Mafia. They're always doing big things in there. I did my last trade. I said, hey, guys, we just doubled. I'm not taking profits, but you definitely should. All the profits were then evaporated. So, hey, if you listen to me and do as I say, not as I do, you're doing fantastic. But even if you're just yellow trading, you're doing all right as well. All right, you ready to go see that ugly...
Twitter buzz.
Oh, bzz, bzz. Do I need the earpiece here?
No.
JP Morgan's Jamie Dimon says U.S. interest rates could hit 6% per CNBC. Thoughts on that? It's pretty high. Where are we at? 475 to
Yeah,
525, right?
Yeah, I
Because
think the
it
goal is to
fluctuates.
get to 5.25. I think a lot of this stuff, I wouldn't put too much stock into what a lot of these talking heads say, especially on days like today.
Especially Jamie Dimon.
Yeah, you got a hot PCE coming out. They're incentivized to push things down, I feel like, a lot of times. So I haven't seen a lot of consistency with what they say. Again, watch where they put their money, watch what they do. Don't listen to what they say, especially if you're pushed, this is designed, especially on a day like today, to create more fear. And if you go look at a lot of those talking heads, Bill Ackman will do this a lot. Jamie Dimon does it all the time. Warren Buffett's known for doing it. I'm not saying they aren't smart about the economy, but they know what they say carries weight. So again, I'm a lot more invested in making my own determinations. Go look at the data for yourself and figure out what you think it's going to be. 6%. He's not talking about mortgage rates. He's talking about the Fed rate. So if the Fed rates get up to 6%, you're talking 8+ on mortgage rates. 8.5, 9% mortgage rates, which obviously would cause a very harsh effect on the economy. So
yeah, no, like you said, they know they have power, so they're pretty careful. All right, shorting into support is the same as longing into resistance. It sounds like something written on a bathroom of FTX. I say, yeah, that is correct.
That is true.
Yeah, it's an Alameda Research financial advice number 4. Let's see, rocket, arrow up, money bag. I'm going to jail. Yeah, there's a lot of people talking about FCC or the SEC, blind eye to this, blind eye to that, investors losing billions, people laundering money, rocket emoji, then they're jumping all over you. So be careful out there, folks. SEC, they won't let me be. All right. Bitcoin coming in, looking at the price. Let's just refresh, get the freshest data possible. 23,200, maybe. Guys, I'm not saying it found a bottom, but it looks like it is starting to bounce. Maybe the traders are having fun right now. Are you ready to see the ugliest Bitcoin logo in the world? Look at that thing. Is that ugly or is that ugly, man?
Yeah.
That is like hideous. That is something from early Facebook, MySpace, like some sort of icon for a game or something. Yeah, it looks like crap. On the 24th of 2010, it became today's letter B with the 2 vertical strokes, loosely based off a Thai currency symbol in the discussion, the symbol at Bitcoin Talk Forum. And then maybe a little guy put a little spin to it too. So it's a fun little story if you want to learn more about that. All right, let's talk about Mt. Gox. This was 9 years ago today. Shout out to Luke Stavely. People always ask, how'd you get into crypto? Luke Stavely, this event kept me away from buying Bitcoin, and it pisses me off because Luke was trying to talk me into it. Man, I'm starting to get interested. Yeah, I remember hearing about it years ago, and my own buddy, he's buying it, and then he's like, yeah, man, I just lost everything. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to stay away a little bit longer. Ended up, luckily I came back when I did. Should have came in even sooner. While the collapse last year rattled FTX's collapse last year rattled the Bitcoin ecosystem. 9 years ago, a bigger failure percentage-wise of the market damaged it even more. What does that teach us? FTX, the empire that defrauded investors, customers, employees to the tune of $8 billion so far, rattled the ecosystem with many worrying whether or not the ecosystem would survive. But Tokyo-based Mt. Gox, whose domain mountgox.com, which originally stood for Magic the Gathering Online Exchange, was originally registered in 2007 to host a trading site for that card game and began operating as a rudimentary Bitcoin exchange in late 2010. As business began to drive huge traffic, they sold it to Mark Karpeles, I believe is how you pronounce that. Mm-hmm. And then on the 24th of 14, they suspended trading and went offline. Eventually, came to light that the infrastructure had been exploited by attackers multiple times over the course of several years. Yeah, one of them, they were kind of smart with how they slowly drained it. But then, correct me if I'm wrong, then they did like a huge attack where it was like very obvious, right? Wasn't he like doing a slow drip at first?
Talking about Karpeles and the way things were going. Yeah, it was, this is very hard to there's a lot of confusion, I guess is the right way to say it, around what was going on there. There was a lot of mismanagement. It was way over his head in a lot of different ways with doing so much volume. It was blowing up very quickly. If you can imagine, kind of like what FTX, some of they were looking at being managed, billion-dollar multinational company being managed on QuickBooks. Wasn't quite the same, but as volume picked up dramatically, he was not equipped, and the website was not built to really do like it mentioned in that article. It was made for trading Magic the Gathering cards. It wasn't made to be a massive Bitcoin exchange. So they were definitely, things were running very slow. There was a lot of downtime. There was a lot of weird stuff going on with the website. And then not long after it got sold and handed over to a different owner, all of a sudden all this Bitcoin went missing. And, you know, a lot of theories around where and why and who got it and who took off with a lot of it. So yeah, you gotta go. I would say, I think it's, I want to say it's Digital Gold that covers a lot of this stuff in detail. If you go back and read that book, it talks about BitInstant, which is basically there was almost only 2 exchanges back then. BitInstant was just getting started up, but Mt. Gox had about, I think, 90+%.
And that's what I was saying
volume.
earlier. Percentage-wise, much, much bigger. Although volume-wise, in dollars, it's less than FTX. But yeah, percentage-wise, it was huge. It'd be like Binance happening.
Yeah,
today.
it was basically like all the Bitcoin being traded was happening on Mt. Gox, and then all of a sudden it went down. And a lot of people, when Mt. Gox went down, people thought Bitcoin went down because to a lot of people, Mt. Gox was Bitcoin at the time.
Turn 1 mountain tap lightning bolt pass. Come on, man. You got to have at least a goblin guide there. All right. I saw someone type, why is Bitcoin crashing? We covered a little bit of that, some of this PCE data. But look at this article from this morning. Bitcoin down 2%, was 3% as $1.8 billion in options contracts expires today.
There you go.
While there's always a reason behind every single movement in the market, the latest bearish trend appears to be a result of those options set to expire. This large volume of Bitcoin set to be expired later today is projected to impact the price movement significantly, more than $1 billion.
That makes sense. It's the end of the month. I didn't even think about that. Last Friday of the month, this is what they call banging.
Oh, it
banging the
is.
close.
It's because it's the 24th.
Yeah.
It's a little bit weird. Stupid February.
Yeah.
I hate it.
It tricks you. Yeah, you wouldn't expect this to be the last Friday, but so they're closing those, like you said, those monthly options. People are betting on the Bitcoin price being in a certain place at a certain time. So there's a lot of money on the line, and people that do have the ability to move the market will do everything they can to move it in their favor when you get these options closing. And then once they close, it then creates more pressure to the downside potentially. So that makes a lot of sense. So you got hot CPE. And if you think about traditional markets, got the same thing going on right now. When I was talking about Jamie Dimon and using different influence for different things, you know, they could be trying to push the stock prices down for very similar things with options expiring there.
Yeah, been on a train. Yeah, hey guys, it's bear market. You know, bear market vibes. You gotta switch things up. TJ is very, very unparalleled in his knowledge when it comes to a breadth. So I mean, it's interesting. You have that opinion. I think you do phenomenal on Around the Blockchain, TJ. You hold your own with all the people in all the realms, and you know you're a good master of. What was it? Jack of all trades? Yeah. Master of some, you know, sure. Not all, but some.
No, it's okay. I don't mind taking that. Most people just don't know the end of that phrase. It's a, you know, Jack of all trades and a master of none is better than a master of one. That's the true expression if you read the whole thing.
Yeah, and I think as Scott Adams says, every skill that you acquire doubles your chance of success. Imagine if you had like 17 skills. You're guaranteed to be successful here. All right. Furthermore, as the open interest is above the 300,000 Bitcoin mark, this is the highest in history. There are possibilities of a certain plummet from Bitcoin open interest. Is the number of contracts or commitments outstanding in options trading yet to be settled on an official exchange. I think they're still open. The trades are still open. They haven't closed yet. Over the past 24 hours, the price has fallen sharply below 24K, marked down by 2.5%. More than 10 billion has been subtracted from the market cap after a fall from 471 billion seen yesterday to 461 billion as of today. Let's just refresh this. We're going to keep coming back and checking this Bitcoin price, make sure nothing too insane happens. Okay. Now it looks like might be heading a little bit back down. We are now down almost 3%, 23,184 there. Yeah. All right. Ready to talk a little NBA. Have you been to a Hawks game lately?
Let's see. A couple weeks ago, there's one tonight that I might go to, but there's several. They're back home now, so there's a bunch in this next week. So
okay, all right. Shout out to 2 Chainz' son, the star of the arena. I should run up on the court, and then maybe I'll make it to this thing right here, which is the Top Shot moments. But these things may be securities, a judge rules in a Dapper Labs case. The Top Shot moments would be the game-winning three-pointer, the famous dunk that, you know, over the defender, DZ running on the court and tackling the point guard. These are going to be the Top Shot moments. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. Okay. I don't want the Hawk security looking at me crazy if they see me. I would never do that unless the game's on the line as the opponent, and then I will. I would never. All right. The offering of the Dapper Labs NBA branded Top Shot NFTs might be securities, a federal judge ruled Wednesday. This is a little alarmist. According to the ruling, the flow tokens, while not necessarily securities themselves, are necessary to the totality of the scheme at issue. In the ruling, the judge went through the prongs of the Howey test and also pointed to the claims from the plaintiffs that Dapper Labs held funds from the sales of moments for the purpose of fundraising and maintaining the flow value. So they're using this to build their ecosystem. It wasn't, there is no judge ruling. They wanted it thrown out of court, floated, and they're like, hey, throw this out of court. And the judge said, well, maybe there is a little something there. So we're going to continue with the court case. So that's essentially what happened. There is no ruling. There is no something set in stone. Judge Roberts, he's not, grimacing in pain over the ruling right now. But it's not a good sign. I will say that. So it's going to be a court case that a lot of people are going to watch. But Dapper Labs has a pretty big war chest. So hopefully they do good.
It's frustrating to see them going after something like Top Shots and Dapper and, what's going on here. And then, again, they were completely negligent when it came to FTX. They missed it with Celsius. They missed it with Three Arrows Capital. And now they're just throwing stuff left and right at anything they can. I don't know. And again, this is regulation through enforcement. They're trying to come back after the fact and put enforcement down on it. It'll be, again, another case, another thing. It'll be interesting to see what comes out of it, what judge rulings, what creates precedent, all that sort of stuff. But,
yeah, it reminds me of like old school WCW, WWE wrestling where the ref has his back turned because Paul Bear or the something or, the teammate or the manager or whatever, they get distracted and then they grab a chair and they just smack someone in the face and then they're down on the ground. Then the judge turns and says, oh, clearly he's in no state to continue. Well, no, it's because you came in after the fact. So it's like they shut down everything. They're suing everybody. They're throwing these founders in jail. And then the SEC's like, well, clearly there's an issue here. No, it was you guys that did that. Okay. Right. You had your back turned. You turn back around, you see an exchange that's collapsed. He's like, oh, gee, I wonder how that happened. You know how it happened. That's a great comparison. The SEC is like the refs in WWE. Yeah, somebody should take and make a clip of that, like when attaching SEC to some of those things. Like, oh wait, over here, I didn't even see that. Yeah, and get like Paul Bear. I don't know what character with that. Who's like the guy distracting them? It's like maybe Elizabeth Warren. Like, look over there. I don't know. The biggest SEC, the biggest injustice against crypto for them, all about the money. Yeah, whatever happened, Gensler. I remember I had high hopes at first. MIT, he actually knows what blockchain is. Oh, he's using that information against us with false statements. And hey, but he knows how to cut a steak, right? But he can't get 3 halves out of 1 piece. Oh man, who knew? All right, emojis count as financial advice and have legal consequences, judge rules. That's what we were talking about, the rocket emoji. Be careful out there. The warn the public of the legal consequences of using the emojis. I lock them up. He has laughing emojis. This was from SDNY, one of the most onerous districts in America. And they ruled that emojis like the rocket ship, the stock mart, and the money bag mean a financial return on investment, according to recent court filings. This changes everything how I type in the Discords now. All right. Within the filing, the judge pointed out that some tweets published by the Top Shot account on Twitter contain these emojis indicating financial returns. And although the literal word profit is not included, the rocket ship emoji, y'all, stock chart emoji, and the money bags, they objectively mean one thing: financial return on the investment, they wrote. Members of the community reacted to the warnings and tweeted various responses. One user described it as tragic. Another pointed out that freedom of speech no longer extends to emojis. That's a stupid point. What an idiot. I'm kidding, but that is apples and oranges. That is not, this isn't like free speech. It's, if you're selling securities and you're saying, hey, I'm going to do this and create profit for this enterprise that I have and buy a share in it, you're free to do that, but then the SEC is free to charge you. And so it's the same thing here. It's not a freedom of speech issue. This is a SEC. Freedom of speech doesn't mean you just say anything everywhere. There's certain things like a CEO can't say, hey, I got a stock from, was it the UAE for $69.42, like Elon did. Guess what? He got hit with a big fine. I don't remember what the exact dollar amount was, but don't think it was 69, like 690 maybe, but 420. Yeah, 420.69. So there are rules against speech. And so this is like SEC speech. I wouldn't say this is like hurting your freedom of assembly. All right, what are your thoughts on that, though? I mean, I kind of get what they're saying. If you're saying, hey, we're going to do this and this coin price is going to go up, if that's illegal, you can't say coin equal rocket ship emoji money bags and not expect that, you know, people to think that you're communicating coin go up.
I would say this is a pretty big reach, in my opinion, on the behalf of the judge, on behalf of the prosecutors in this case, because you're basically inferring definition of images, and there's a really slippery slope there. On, you know, like that's true. What some of the comments they're saying, like, oh, I said rocket ship. You know, if I put rocket chart up money bags, means if a rocket ship hits a very sound portfolio, it could wreck your money. You know, like. So who's to be the decider of what these emojis mean, what they don't mean? Are we going to have a commission now that defines emojis and all this different stuff? So to me, I think it's a really slippery slope when you're trying to infer the definition of images stated by any certain person.
What would you do with slang, though? You know, this is the hottest token. You know, are you saying it's good? Or are you saying it's not good? I mean,
it can, and that's kind of my point. Is it's a lot of overreach, in my opinion, on the side of the judge to say this is precedent for creating, you know, this is what, when they said this, they led people to believe that. Whether it's true or not, I think is kind of irrelevant in the sense that establishing this precedent that emojis are binding is very different than what the words actually are. I think
they're going to do a case-by-case basis, similar to what the Supreme Court did with pornography, where I think the quote is, I know it when I see it. And I think they'll do the same thing with emojis. You know,
well, and I think that's very dangerous.
I'll know it when I see it.
That's very dangerous because it doesn't it gives all the power to the regulators to enforce after the fact, which obviously that's what they want. And these rules weren't established before. So I don't know. I think it's really slippery slope when you start changing definitions of things or adding definitions of things. You know, I'm not saying something shouldn't be
We
done.
are adding a definition to a thing that has been added to our communication. And so you can give an argument that it needs to be defined. You know, maybe the definition is there is no definition. You know, that needs to be defined.
Right.
We can't define that until maybe this court case.
Yeah, but the question is who has the ultimate authority to define it?
Judges. Judicial system,
which is all subject to different arguments.
Hey, you could run for judicial office. I'll vote for you.
Yeah, I just think it's a slippery slope. That's
it is. I definitely it is. But you know, this is a new form of communication, and you know, it's worth a discussion, I think. All right, but there's people are definitely torn. I mean, I think it is subjective. It is subjective.
If Elon does Tesla rocket, is he talking about Tesla stocks going up?
And that's where you go in the I know it when I see it. If it's a CEO of a rocket company, I wouldn't say I know, right? You'd say, yeah, you're right. There's a big difference there, but
what if
it's nothing to do with rockets.
What if it's somebody who holds Tesla stock?
All right, then again, you would say, all right, there's maybe a reason they have a rocket. But if it's random, you know, baby Elon Doge Floki Mars, you know, yeah, then you could say, hey, no, it's part of our logo. But if it's gaming token that has nothing to do with it, maybe then you would say, well, I think you meant something by the rocket. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how the judicial system lands on this. I do think it's a little silly, but I think it's worth a discussion. Are emojis speech? And I think they are. I think they are. So, all right. Given too much power to the judges, I mean, so who's going to rule on it? I don't know. We're going to watch this. It's going to be interesting. And is a rocket emoji, yes or no? Is a rocket emoji saying price goes up? I don't know. All right. Confused crypto traders pump and dump Base following Coinbase L2. The Base token price surged 350% before. The inevitable dump could be a game changer. They're overwhelmed with reactions to the latest announcement regarding the Layer 2 launch on Optimism. The L2 solution is called Base. However, it shares its name with Base Protocol. LMAO, people buying Base thinking it's build on Base. Base Protocol by Coinbase has no coin, people.
I was going to say, it's on testnet. It's not even a coin yet.
Meanwhile, this pumped 220% on that screenshot. So, hey, if you were in that ahead of that announcement or you front ran that and said, you know what, I think it's going to go up, congrats, you did really good. Here, we're going to pull it up.
Yeah, pull it up. It's crazy to look at.
All right.
Just go to CoinMarketCap and just pull up
let's see. It's just Base, right?
Yeah. You'll see it.
So we're going to type it in. Base protocol now
go to the
down to
all.
67%.
Go to all.
Hmm?
Hit the all.
Oh, yeah.
No, on. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, you see, I mean, it still looks pretty good if we hit the woohoo.
There you go.
Yeah, a lot of people. I feel bad for the people who bought above $4. Like, oh yeah, man, I'm gonna ride the wave. Then they see it just plummeting and plummeting and plummeting. You're like, all right, I'm putting in 1 ETH, and you refresh. You're like, I can get back 1.1, 0.9, 0.8, 0.7, 0.6, 0.1. And then by then it's too late. So I feel bad for those people. But yeah, that tends to happen a lot. We did have, was it the World Token? I think it pumped with a big Twitter announcement. I know they had some sort of announcement, but I was speculating a lot of that had to do with the big Twitter. And I was like, TWT or TTR. All right, so base pumped. A lot of people made some money, but we are actually going to look into potentially trying to reach out and maybe we'll try to add it to Vumio. I think it's worth. It depends on whether or not there's NFTs on it. If the market wants those NFTs, we'll probably do it. It is a large company, and they might launch a lot on that platform. And hey, if people want them, if it's going to be ticketing, it's going to be events, hey, we probably need to have it on there. So I'm going to look into that today, actually. All right, stablecoins need better regulators than the SEC. The Circle CEO, big, no surprise there, Jeremy Allaire. He is the founder of Circle, and he recently shared his opinion on the SEC and its role in regulating stablecoins in the U.S. Circle is the issuer of USDC, which has a circulating supply of over $42 billion. He just did an interview with Bloomberg yesterday, I believe. Yeah, let me check. Yeah, just checked yesterday. Stablecoins there are lots of flavors, and you chose to be salty. As we like to say, not all stablecoins are created equal. But clearly, from a policy perspective, the uniform view around the world is this is a payment system, prudential regulator space there. So CEO proposes better measures. He disagreed with their role in regulating stablecoins. However, he supported the regulator's proposal to include virtual currencies in the assets subject to qualified custodian requirements. This would provide control to structure and bankruptcy protection. I don't mind issuers being lightly regulated, maybe some sort of independent auditing system, but we definitely need to regulate peer-to-peer transactions. We don't need to regulate smart contracts. We don't need to regulate overseas entities. But if you have American entities issuing, if I can go up to the Tether Corporation and have $1 billion, a pallet of US cash, and they give me a billion Tether tokens, yeah, maybe someone should have some idea of what's going on. But what does that look like? I stay out of that. There's people who are fighting both sides. I think they'll come to some sort of reasonable conclusion on the government side, and then we'll have to fight and we'll have to chip away. And then, maybe we'll end up at somewhat of an equitable place where we can have grandma not lose her life savings. I think that's all. I think we all want that. I think that's what it's going to take to get crypto to the next level. We just got to make sure they don't overreach. And trust me when I say they're going to try to overreach. They are overreaching right now. And so we have to be alert, point it out, and have fair discussions if we want to have, any kind of real progress. What are your thoughts on stable coins, regulation? I mean, should USDC have someone look at underneath the hood at some point?
Yeah, they will have regulation, but I agree that there's no reason it should come from the SEC. I mean, I think it makes more sense the OC, Office of the Comptroller, if you're talking about controlling, issuance of dollars more or less, which is what we're going to see in the future. There's
rather it be or was it the CFTC?
CFTC. There's a lot of other things I think that make a lot more sense, in my opinion, than the SEC, and this is where I think what Gary Gensler's doing is going to work against him. He's so broadly overreaching to try to put everything underneath the SEC's control that there's plenty of other people that are like, wait. Like, we need to control this, or this person needs to control that. Like, you can regulate some stuff, things that are launching, things that are a for-profit enterprise and using it for fundraising purposes. There's a place, but stablecoins and stablecoin issuance and that sort of stuff, in my opinion, doesn't really make sense for the SEC. It makes sense for somebody to be involved in it, but not SEC.
I will say this, as Gensler becomes more and more unpopular, I think that is happening. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not polling the Congress members myself, but it appears he's getting more and more unpopular. And I find ourselves in this Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner type situation where we are the Roadrunner, you and me, we're the Roadrunner. Hit that like button if you feel like a Roadrunner, you say beep, beep. And you see the Wile E. Coyote, and he has this big, elaborate Acme system, and you see how there's an issue. And the second he hits the lever, he's going to blow himself up. You know it's going to happen. You see it's going to happen. Do you stop him now, or do you let him blow himself up? And maybe there's a similar situation happening with Gary Gensler. Maybe it's a good thing for him to have egg on his face where let him look like an idiot. Let him blow things. Let him go into the China shop. Let him break all the antiques. And then we could point at him and say, hey, you idiot, you just ruined everything. But if we stop him now, maybe there's not as much broken china on the floor. Now that broken china is going to hurt, it's going to be pain, but it could be the best thing for the long term. And so we got to have intellectual honesty when it comes to this. We can't just, rip the curtain out from somebody, because who's going to replace him if we replace him now? But if he is seen as this huge villain, this big bad wolf, maybe they won't replace him with another wolf. It'll be a sheep in wolf's clothing, but maybe they'll at least act like a sheep for a little bit. And maybe we'll get some sheep-like regulation. That's a good thing. Look, this is a fight. This is going to be a fight of compromises. This isn't going to be a fight of one side is a clear victor. It's going to be a battle of attrition that is going to go on for decades, if not centuries. And so let's just have that focus. Let's have that state of mind. Let's not just say, oh, we got to have this winner-take-all mentality and, we're losing, and because that'll just make you want to give up. But if you are smart about it, we start funding the right causes. We start funding the right politicians. We start getting the right people. Let's infiltrate like the WEF, right? That should be our strategy. Infiltrate. Change it from within, not just point fingers and screech. All right, that's my thesis statement for that. Any thoughts on that? The WEF strategy? I like that strategy.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's, we're slow and steady from the from the inside.
And I saw him bragging recently about Trudeau's cabinet. It's more than half of their cabinet now, and he's like, he calls them they're young WEF leaders. DZ's 22. No. Almost 40. All right. Who really created Bitcoin? Federal Reserves. DZ has to be in his 40s. I have to be in my 40s. Oh, wow. At least wait for me to take the hat off before you say I have to be in my 40s.
I like the comment that
38.
said you're one cowboy hat away from an old Western lawman. I could see it. You throw the
I watched all that Yellowstone.
Yeah,
that's
there
what
you
it
go.
was. Shout out to Yellowstone. Good show. Me and Kat's favorite Sunday ritual, watching 1923. All right, Kathy Wood's ARK Invest adds $3.9 million worth of coin. This is a stock that I shared in DZ Trades. I actually YOLO'd into some more the second I saw the base 2 tweet. ARK added 63,000 coin shares worth $3.9 million across 2 funds, while fellow fund ARK Next Generation Internet ETF added almost 10,000 shares. The company's latest filing shows they closed up just over 2% on Thursday at $62. They were as low as 30-something, 33 not that long ago. This investment is just one of many in a series of Coinbase buys from Wood this month. ARK has spent nearly $37 million investing in the exchange so far. Are you bullish on their stock when it's down 80%, or is there more pain to be had?
I am bullish on them in general. I think now is a decent time to buy. The price is going to be lower. The volume is going to be lower. Obviously, they're going to be very tied to Bitcoin. When I look at what's going on with the federal approved exchange talk that's happening with them, people saying, oh, we were going to do this with FTX. Now we're doing them with Coinbase. Again, their ties to Circle, their ties to USDC. I see them being around for a very, very long time. So this is a long-term investment for me. I'd be looking to, if I was a stock investor, which I'm not generally, so don't take this with a grain of salt. I'd be buying them anytime they're pulling back 80%. I'd be doing almost exactly like Kathy Wood, just buy. You see BlackRock buying into it. You see Vanguard buying into it. These are the people that are going to make sure Coinbase is here for years to come. I don't see any potential competition if they do have to be federally approved custodians. So, yeah, I think my theory, I think we talked about this on Around the Blockchain, is that's going to be what the Federal Reserve and a lot of these issuers of the stablecoins use to circumvent the U.S. dollar coin straight into the hands of the public without having to go through retail banks.
Yeah, that would be a nice little Trojan horse. Can't lose your hair at 30. Well, I've known people early 20s, and I have too much hair, okay? Look, how many times I got to do? You can hear it, all right? There's too much hair. It comes out like a Brillo pad. Just really, really high forehead is all. All right, Ethereum researcher reflects on success as network crosses $15 billion in cumulative revenue. This is developer Danny Ryan celebrating the success here. And they posted their thoughts on the development of ETH and the milestone it hit in the form of the merge. The reflection comes at a time when the network has passed $15 billion in cumulative revenue since its launch in 2015. Of course, they're talking about ETH burnt, just disappear forever. It continues to hold a dominant position in the market, and nothing indicates this will change anytime soon. With a successful switch to POS in the bag, the team can now focus on scaling the network. This is the next major milestone. Now, when you go away from ETH, because the next alt is BNB, which is EVM compatible. And then the next one after that is it Cardano or XRP? Let's see. Let's check because it is kind of always floating around, because that might take us to our next story. So we have ETH. That's what they're saying. They're far and away the leader when it comes to alternative cryptocurrencies. BNB is EVM compatible. All right, so XRP currently ahead of Cardano by actually a significant portion, $7 billion. Don't worry, we are going to talk a little XRP, but let's talk a little Cardano. Where are the people who love some Cardano? Male pattern baldness comes from high manly testosterone. It's that high T lifestyle, baby. Yeah. I got that high T lifestyle. What can I say? What can I say? All right, don't need hair. Looking good. Hey, thank you, Vincent. All right, let's talk a little Cardano here, though. And Polkadot, DOT, and ADA maintain crypto development activity lead. The data is showing here. So DOT, on the way back, often described as the blockchain of blockchains or as a layer zero, maintained its position as the leading network by development activity. It's followed by its pre-production network Kusama and smart contract platform ADA. So number one, we got the Polkadot Kusama ecosystem. Number two, we have Cardano. And number three, ICP, and then we have Decentraland, and I still think this is Apple devs getting things done. What are your takeaways when you see this list? Vega, always surprising me. Filecoin, always kind of see it in that 5 to 10 slot.
Yeah, I see. You see Kusama and DOT on there quite often. Ethereum, it makes sense. ADA, I know, has some different stuff rolling out. Cosmos has a governance proposal out right now, and really, once that gets voted through, in my opinion, it makes Cosmos a lot stronger than DOT. So now I'm biased. I like Cosmos. I've been interacting in that ecosystem for a while. I'm not as much into DOT. So that's what I think when I see that list. My
ADA is an iTrust. Just I self-custody mine, and I just stake through my wallet. I use the NAMI. And so
cool. But iTrust Capital, great platform, guys. If somebody we've worked with before, they've been around the space a very long time. They came out of precious metals trusts. If you want to hold your assets in tax-protected IRA vehicles, okay. As far as I know, iTrust is one of the best ones out there.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I don't want to say anything negative because I don't know anything about it. I know I self-custody there.
I've known the people behind iTrust for a very long time.
Okay, all right. Well, let's one more Cardano story here. Singularity Net AGX. It is that big AI coin that had that huge pump. Cardano staking Portal beta to launch on the network next month. So staking just in time for everyone to take their profits. The developer behind it recently announced that the staking portal set to launch the beta next month as the team moves on with this plan to launch the portal on the main net in the first quarter of the year, so they better hurry. Will allow the token holders to stake their tokens on the network instead of just on the ETH network. As Crypto Globe reported, the project launched an ERC20 token converter last year, allowing users to move their AGIX from Ethereum to Cardano. I see it on MinSwap. So if you want to get it on your Cardano wallet, that's where I would use it. It is a pioneer in the field of AI and is responsible for creating Sophia, which is recognized as the world's most expensive robot. Did you ever see the AI monkeys with Justin?
What's that?
Justin Williams, CEO of Vumio, has monkey AIs where they have his Bored Ape mixed with him. What are your thoughts on those?
I think it's pretty cool. I mean, it definitely looks intense. It definitely, I would say it doesn't necessarily look like him, but it captures his essence.
It captures the essence greatly. It's definitely leans a little bit more towards the monkey. I think they use Mid-Journey, it's Pixia, which we're trying to talk to with Vumio. So if we ever end up getting some cool AI features, probably going to team up with them. And I'm pretty excited about that. It'd be pretty cool to, pay a little flat fee instead of going into a Discord and, prompting and signing up and emails and all that. Can I just pay someone like $5-10 to do it? Give me something cool. So we might be looking into that. So pretty excited about that. Ripple versus SEC. Government watchdog supports motion to unseal the Hinman docs. Oh, we need to see those things, baby. This is Forbes journalist Rosalind Layton, and is receiving support for her motion to intervene in the lawsuit between Ripple Labs and SEC, seeking public access to the Hinman speech documents. Empower Oversight Whistleblower and Research has expressed its support for the motion. Let's go Empower. Let's empower SEC and let's empower Ripple's case against the SEC. The statement goes on to say Empower is being ignored by the U.S. agency since August 21. At the time, the government watchdog made a request, which is still the subject of an ongoing FOIA lawsuit against the SEC. Freedom of Information Act there. Also, what were your thoughts on this? We're going to get into a quick hit, and I don't know if anyone has any questions. Sam Bankman-Fried hit with 4 new criminal charges. Again, we're not lawyers, not any kind of legal advice here. I'm wondering, my first speculation was they took some of what Caroline said, they took what maybe some of Gary said, and drummed up some new charges. What do you think?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, what were the charges again? I read this in passing, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
Let's see. 4 new criminal charges, provides greater details of the political donations. One related to commodities fraud. And, oh, yeah, this was the one I was thinking of. Unlawful political contributions.
Yeah.
Now, that's a multi-layered one. That's gonna be a thick, giant onion with a lot of layers. And I feel that there's going to be some people who don't want that information out. We have a pretty bad system in America when it comes to campaign finance. You can give dark money, is what they call it, to these super PACs. And you don't have to disclose anything. And politicians love it because oftentimes a super PAC, if it's a homegrown one, maybe your brother works on there. Maybe you have some nieces and nephews. Maybe your parents run it. And it's a slush fund. It is what it is. And there's no oversight over who's giving this money, which means sometimes it's adversarial governments, meant to divide us. Sometimes it's shady people trying to bribe politicians. And as long as that exists, there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of mystery. There's a lot of, we don't know who gave money to whom, and they want that. And so there's going to be a lot of people, powerful people, who probably don't want any of this information to come out. So that means we need it to come out, and I'm going to be watching for it to come out. We'll let you know if it does come out. Do you think we'll see any dark super PAC money or expose any super PAC dark money?
I mean, yeah, I mean, this has been part of the storyline for a while. I probably has to do with there's limits to what you can donate to who and where and why, and there's probably gave too much in one area. So, this is kind of what I thought when I saw this, like, oh, okay, this is stuff that we kind of all suspected. They're just now getting to charging him for it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Someone has a very good question here. What does it mean when people say validators on ETH are censoring blocks for OFAC, the Office of Foreign Asset Control / the U.S. Treasury? It means the validators have listened to the blacklist from the U.S. Treasury, and that blacklist is people who interacted with Tornado Cash. And so they say, oh, you want us to block these people and not include them in the decentralized global payment network? We will listen to you, and you got it, Chief. And so then it's, hey, maybe not as decentralized as people like. DZ, will you give me your take on a slogan jingle? Maybe, Jess. I don't know. Get it in time. Donations need to be unlimited and fully disclosed. I agree with that. I think if you want to give money, yeah, make it unlimited, because they're doing it anyways. Now they're just doing it while it's hidden. So why not say, hey, you can give unlimited money, but now we actually get to see where it is instead of just dark money where we have zero idea. February broke out. Okay, finish the Ashes and Ash Wednesday. I think we got, did you see any other questions? Strong reversal. All right. I know people, hey, make sure you check out the Candle Mafia, see what they're saying. Thoughts on Kopi? I like it. I like it. I actually haven't bought any. I need to. Cornucopias. It's Charles Hoskinson's favorite metaverse on Cardano. To me, kind of a good seal of approval. Did you sell your whole bag at the top? No one does. No one does. I certainly didn't do it. When's the cruise for Pluto? Middle of April, I think the 17th through the 21st. So you better hurry up. Get your tickets. I want to see you there. Hey, let's play some shuffleboard, baby. Pluto is a planet. Go Junkies.